Google Sheets as backend, reality check architecture pattern, and distributed machine learning at Instacart. Those are the highlights of Architecture Weekly number 61. Let's get started. But before we speak of those, this week I hold an interview with Alexander Granin, a Haskaller, a software architect, and an author of the book Functional Design and Architecture. We spoke about ChatGPT, a hype topic nowadays, and we discussed whether ChatGPT will render the developers' work obsolete. So follow the thumbnail here for this very fruitful discussion. Okay, and the first highlight of the week is the Google Sheets as backend at Levels.fyi. So when you start a new project, you probably think, hey, I want to use a MongoDB as my data storage, or I'm gonna pick PostgreSQL. But some successful projects start with none other than Google Sheets as their data storage. And it appears to be scalable, easy to use, easy to be integrated with, and generally a good storage for the first step. So first highlight is the post by this company where they explain the evolution of their system design, which starts with none other than Google Forms and Google Sheets. Okay, remember this guy? His name is Friedrechsen, and last week he wrote a post about the reality check pattern. Have you ever encountered a situation where your navigation system tells you that you're in the middle of a river while you're driving in a highway? So Uwe just did, and as a resiliency architect he immediately thought about the pattern that can be emerged from such a situation. The fact is that software systems should always check the incoming signals and see whether its own state reflects those signals, so kinda checking their reality. And if the situation doesn't make any sense, the system should transition in some safe mode state, right? And in order to prevent any harm to the user whatsoever. So follow the blog post that I'm sharing from Uwe's blog and grab more examples and conclusions inside. Okay, and the last highlight for today is the distributed machine learning platform at Instacart. So several issues ago, I mentioned the Kubernetes, the platform for running machine learning payloads on Kubernetes. And this week, Instacart published a piece on building the distributed ML platform using exactly this tool. Find out how they managed to build a scalable, efficient, diverse platform which allows for development and maintenance simplicity as well as seamless integration with their previous version called Granin. Okay, time for the follow-up. So AWS Aurora received the write-through cache, and the whole notion of this is the problem of the replication lag. If you remember, the replication lag appears when the replication stream is generated too fast and the replica can't keep up. So to improve the situation, a write cache through was introduced, and it had tremendous results. So it decreased the retention lag by 44%. So follow the details on the InfoQ blog and the related page on AWS. Okay, next one, you're gonna love it. So architect, is it a title or a role? Well, I gave a speech some time ago here, unfortunately it's in Russian, but you can use the subtitles. And generally I was talking about if you really need a title of a software architect in your company, or it's just be a role that you can assign to a principal engineer or staff engineer or whatever you would call it. And the reason why I'm talking about it is that the guy called Mipsy Tipsy, he wrote a long read based on his Twitter interaction where he gathered opinions about the staff engineers, architects, and how the organizations were going with those people. Well, they discovered that organization is tending to be a little bit screwed up when they introduced the software architect title. Why? Well, follow the post that I'm sharing. Funny thing that this post confuses the role and title, but still the read is very entertaining. Okay, next one is a cloud native landscape. So the amount of tools for developing, deploying, monitoring, running cloud native apps is over 9,000. Oops, over 1,000. You face a problem. What tools would you like to pick for your project to avoid the expected issues? Worry no more. Cloud Native Foundation shared a tool called Landscape, where you can find all those tools divided by the categories and conveniently laid out at the area of applicability. Okay, next one is a workflow orchestration. The common approach to a distributed transaction is Saga. It's either orchestrated or via choreography. However, when you start thinking about sagas, you encounter the compensations. Those compensations can be costly, literally, because if you're trying to compensate the payment, then you need to pay additional fee for its compensation. So people don't like paying for those things. One of the ideas to solve the problem is the workflow approach, where you introduce an entity, which is kind of responsible for this, this distributed thing, and doing just that, figuring out the state of the transactions, applying the steps, orchestrating all that stuff, and so on and so on. So follow the article I'm sharing to know more about this workflow pattern. Next one is a contract-driven development, which we covered already a couple of times. So the contract-driven adoption article on InfoQ blog, again, explores how contract-driven development can improve the adoption of the new technologies and tools in the organization. So it discusses the benefits of using contracts to define expected behaviors of the services and their outcomes, reduce ambiguity, and enable fast feedback loop. So the article covers different types of contracts, provides examples of real-world projects that are using them, and offer practical tips for using contract-driven development. Overall, it provides a very useful perspective on how contract-driven development can facilitate technology adoption and improve collaboration among teams. Okay, and the last one for today is microservice dependency graphs. So remember Murat? He's sharing awesome paper overviews. And this time it's about the characterizing microservice dependency graphs on the data of none other than Alibaba. So this article on Murat Buffalo's blog discusses a study on analyzing over 100 microservice systems using network science techniques to identify common patterns and properties. So the article highlights findings such as the prevalence of power law distributions, clustering, hierarchical structures in microservice dependency graph. The authors discussed the implications of those findings on the design and management of microservice architectures, such as the need for monitoring, fault tolerance, and modularization. Overall, the article offers insights for improving scalability, reliability, and maintainability of microservice architectures. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to subscribe down below to the channel in order not to miss new videos on it. I would also appreciate your support that you can make at Patreon or Boosty, and that will really help to run the channel. Patrons and Boosty subscribers get the early access to all the content that I am making, and you will also get your name in this list of supporters, and you will also be able to join the architecture community where we discuss what's happening in the industry and solving some architectural puzzles. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.